in here. If some more people join us shortly, that would be great. I'm going to just go ahead and get right going here. Oh, meeting being recorded. Thanks, Nadia. So thank you all for joining us. Happy July. As you all can see, we are happy to welcome Jeanette back to Team ROSC. I'm going to let her give herself a couple minute little toot of her horn and say welcome back.
Well, thank you. It's funny how life happens, but nevertheless, I'm grateful to be continuing in work I love, and I'm committed in any place that I'm able to work in our community. So super stoked. The work continues.
Very good. Let me just get my screen share going here. All right. Well, as always, thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you for all of the work that you do all of the time to make the ROSC and all of our recovery efforts in Logan and Mason County successful. We wanted to start with a little bit of a discussion about how Recovery Jam went last weekend, because we were really pleased with the turnout in Lincoln, and we hope to have a similar event happen in Havana this week. So Jeanette, I'm gonna lean on you a little bit because you're better with everyone's names than I am. We had 3 speakers. We had some really inspiring, really powerful stuff going on. And we had people come with their tables and resources to share. Open Arms was there with food. They donated hamburgers and hot dogs, which was awesome. And overall, just a really fun, we had rock painting donated as well, which we will also have this weekend. Just a really fun, excellent day in the park.
It was. We had a great time. Of course, we want to thank those who traveled in. Our theme was We Do Recover. So each person that shared, which was Sam, is one of them who's on the call with us today. Liam, who some of you have had the privilege to meet recently, the director of homeless services at PATH, and then Vera Traver, who all 3 are folks in recovery and who are in the field out doing the work. So it was super great to hear from them, very powerful, and just look forward to continuously building and partnering. It was great to have the tables out there, and I just continuously see us hopefully growing.
Yeah, and thank you also to our fellow Chestnut staff that was there to help out. Thank you, Tyler, for loading and unloading. And thank you to Randy and your husband for coming and manning a table with some Narcan and some doTERRA bags. We had a lot of interest in those, and some people that came up to us and said this was really a great event, really helpful to learn about how to use these items, because they may have them, you know, in the lobby of work or something like that and not know how to use them. So just as an aside, for anyone who needs Narcan training, please reach out to either us or to Randy Wilson, who is our resident Narcan expert and who would love to provide. It takes, you know, a couple of minutes to run through how to use that, but it can save somebody's life, and some really powerful stories of if I had only had it, or if someone, you know, had only told me this was an option, kinds of stories. So really great. Looking forward to the same kind of activity in Mason next week. So we'll be in Havana starting, setup's going to start around 11, and then around noon. My brain. Around noon, and then event starts at 1 and goes until everyone's done. What have you got?
Around 3. Yeah, it's just a couple things I wanted to add in that I thought were neat. So one of the things we did was we did have a threefold kind of capturing people's thoughts of what recovery meant to them. And one of the cool ones I'm just going to pull out that I remember is someone had wrote, recovery is living two lifestyles in one lifetime. I thought that was just a really neat thing. And the other thing is that, you know, we had folks come from the community. We had a gentleman that was 8 days without alcohol, you know, and he kept saying how welcomed he felt. He kept telling me I would check on him, and he just kept saying, "Thank you for making me feel so welcome." So there's some impact that's going on. We had some siblings come out, some family members of those who their loved one wasn't even there, but they just came out to support the effort. So
Couple
just
of
really wanted to
walk-ins
share
that
that.
weren't in any way affiliated, just excited to learn more and
Mhm. Yep.
yeah,
So great deal.
awesome. So we also have some housekeeping kinds of items. As I mentioned, Jeanette is back, but in sad news, kind of, I have decided to take a step back and focus on family life, which has been a little hectic with the 1-year-old. So today is actually my final day as the community health specialist with the Logan Mason ROSC. The team is going to be just fine and is very excited to welcome and to continue forward with a new person. But if you know someone, this is the part that Carrie and Nadia didn't tell me to say, but I'm going to say anyway. If you know someone that's a good fit for the team, that can continue the work, they are looking for someone and are starting the interview process. So in the meantime, Carrie is going to continue to serve as additional support, and obviously having Jeanette back makes the transition a little bit more seamless. So I have greatly enjoyed working with everyone, and this small opportunity that I've had to work on this incredibly important project has been really valuable to me, and it's a bittersweet, sad to see it go. Okay. So then looking forward, instead of looking, I want to do all the looking back in the beginning so we can just look forward now. Looking forward for next week, obviously having some of the same great things going on, resource tables. There are still spots available. So if anyone knows of an organization or an individual that would like to help provide resources, have them reach out, please. And it's gonna be a great event. We hope to see you there. All right. Lots to look forward to with Recovery in Action team. So Jeanette, go for it.
Yes, so that's another thing we got to highlight, and people were very interested and really wanted to make sure they knew when we met. So that is awesome. We are continuing to meet at this point the second Tuesday of the month and the fourth Sunday of the month at 517 Woodlawn. This is a little graphic that has that kind of written out, probably be the easiest to share to your folks if they're interested. There is a telephone number there if someone is in need of transportation. I've been able to help people before if they need it for different situations. So keep that in mind, but we want to continue to grow that up. Sam is on the call with us, who's one of our most active Recovery in Action folks. I'm just going to leave room for Sam. Is there anything you want to add or anything you want to throw out there when it comes to the RIA group?
Not really, just that we're trying to get the word out there. You know, we were talking last time we met about being able to get the word out there to the people in the community. And if anybody has any suggestions possibly on some ways that we can get the word out there that we need everybody, that would be great.
Yeah. And we are also willing, if there are folks who are interested, or if you know a small group of people or an agency that you would think that would have folks with lived experience that may be interested, please throw that out there, email us. We'd be willing to go speak with folks, let them know what we're doing, what we're attempting to do, and how we need each other to be able to do it. So if there are opportunities that y'all can think of as a council of where, who doesn't know about ROSC and who needs to, and so we can fill that gap as far as going to do a presentation or share some information or whatever the case may be, but definitely wanting to, one of our goals, Sam and I and the others talk about, is how to strengthen resources that we already have right here now before we start building a whole lot more, right? And so how can we beef up those meetings and help be a part of making sure those are quality meetings that are happening? And how can we be a part of folks working together so that, eventually we will be able to be in a position to have a recovery community organization. So, that's a way that the council can help as well if there's some suggestions y'all have in those areas.
Hey, Jeanette,
Yes.
have you gone to gas stations and asked about posting a flyer or anything, or like the laundromat or anything like that?
Yes, yeah, I have, but it's been a while, and I have not gone with this new updated one, Kim. So that's a good idea, and that's probably something we can do as a RIA, divide and conquer and hit some places up with the new schedule. Thank you for that.
Or even the housing authority. I mean, they have some common areas, either, social rooms, anything like that. Any of the housing places, just as an idea.
That's one I have not. DHS, housing, or health department, those places, but housing I hadn't either. So thank you. That's another great idea, Kim.
Yeah, or like rail splitter, and braid,
right.
Whatever that, what I'm talking
Brainerd.
about. Brainerd, yeah.
Yep. And that's something that we are starting to strategize. I think we were talking last time about how to really, like I said, strategize a way to reach people. And, we are not opposed to going door to door or, just getting out there. I think one of the things that fanning the flame to find each other. That's how I look at it. There are many people in our community who are living in recovery and may not do a meeting at all, but would be interested in being a part of something like this. So, those are great ideas. And that's what we will continue to be focusing on as we grow this thing up, as well as also being very intentional about bringing trainings to those who are actively in the Recovery in Action group, whether that be trainings from Faces and Voices, how to share a story, other practical ways in which we can train each other up. Also making sure everyone's really informed about avenues for the CRSS or CRPS. And so we want that body of people for certain to, we want to invest in that way in a very intentional way. Oh, did we lose Rachel? Oh,
I was muted, sorry.
oh.
I was talking and nothing was there. All right. Yeah, and the 2 cents that I have, again, just from Saturday, of people, taking flyers and saying like, I had no idea this existed. There was a gentleman there, I think it might be the same one you're talking about, Jeanette, that was like 8 days in and said, I had no idea that there was this community around people being successful at this. And, all my friends use, and having a group that's not doing that, setting the example or having an option for sober social activities, I think can be just such a game changer. So please help to spread the word. some exciting things that I think can happen, and looking forward to hearing all about it. Okay. So next, there we go. So speaking of getting the word out, we are looking forward to September being Recovery Month nationally. And so we are having our second annual Walk for Recovery this year, the 17th in Lincoln and the 24th in Havana. So again, sort of like with the recovery jams, there are volunteer and booth opportunities available. There are also opportunities for donation. If you or anyone you know would be willing to donate, whether it's a food item, water, anything like that that might help the event to be successful, please reach out to Carrie and Jeanette to help coordinate those items. As we all know from last year, these events were incredibly successful, of varying sizes. So obviously the one in Lincoln was a bit larger, and the one in Mason we would love to see get a little bit more traction and a little more attention. So Lynn, let's make that happen. Let's figure out how we can get a whole bunch of people there, not just everyone who's, you know, quietly in recovery, which seems to be more the case than not. Do you have ideas for who else we could invite, since we've got you here? And
I don't have any ideas in addition to what we did last year, but I will think on it.
okay, love it. Jeanette, do you have
Thinking
any?
as I do, well, you just mentioned a phrase and it reminded me of part of Sam's share on Saturday, talking about recovering loudly. I love that. It's something that was said in the share, and I think that we were looking at how we could use that as a theme as well. But we're throwing that around for the recovery walk, about recovering loudly and how we
Yeah.
can weave that in.
I
Definitely.
wonder if there wouldn't be some. Oh, Samantha, go ahead.
I just said definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
love
I
to.
wonder if there wouldn't be a way to incorporate like music or a local marching band or something like that, reaching out to those kinds of individuals, or even just a couple people with a couple loud instruments would make a big difference.
Definitely something that stuck in my head, and just found it so timely, and where we're at, moving from living lives of solely anonymity to stepping out, saying, I am living in recovery. I'm proud of that, and how that will help us move into any anti-stigma campaigns or things that we'll be moving into by just that, recovering loudly. I love it.
Yeah. So again, reach out. Let's find ways to get this event out and about. We are going to be Jeanette and possibly Carrie, or possibly the new person, are going to be on the radio leading up to it. So having some really cool opportunities to share what's going on in the world of recovery, and not just more statistics about people who are struggling, because I think sometimes the news skews towards the negative, and getting to flip the script on that a little bit and show, yes, this is possible, and look at, we're not just living, we're thriving in recovery.
Will we have a banner to display down at the park ahead of time like we did last year?
I don't see why not.
For the walk, I'm sure we can figure that.
I was wondering, do we know where the walk's going to be here? And I have a couple of reasons for asking. One is I don't know, but the second one is Scully Park is under construction at the moment. So I'm wondering if that was where you were planning on having it, or what are we doing?
It is, Kim. I did submit our request and I didn't hear any, I haven't went by there either, but I submitted the request to the county because they're of course the ones that own it. I haven't heard of, they didn't mention like, I don't know. I'll have to check that out, Kim.
Yeah,
That's my
um,
answer.
just take a look and see. I don't exactly know what that's going to entail, but they're over there working now, so.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would hope that they would have called me, but yes, we'll look into that.
Yeah, guessing
Got
they
it.
didn't think about it, but
Yeah. If not, for any reason, that's definitely something we'll have to be thinking about. I think one of the things we were keeping at Scully, just because that is familiar and it's the only place, you know, it's something that people recognize, but
what about the
Yeah.
other park on the other side?
that's what I'm gonna figure, that if not, and I would hope that the grace, because the county is responsible for them as well, that would just give the grace to approve that.
Right.
So
Right,
definitely we'll be looking into that, as a matter of fact, after this call.
okay.
Thanks for the heads up, Kim.
Yes.
We have the banner at the office, but I wonder if you make a second one that we could have one up in Lincoln for a while and then one up in Havana for a while. Because last year we just brought it straight from Lincoln and then put it up the week before in Havana, but
Yeah, possibly having it up for, a few weeks in advance of the event would give people a chance to see it, and maybe more people would come.
there's no date on it, but we could figure out a way to be able to put like a date big enough on it that we could like slap it on.
You
be
could
able
do
to
like
show
little
off.
Velcros.
Yeah.
And pop a little date, and then you could reuse the signs every year.
Yeah. Just a thought.
It's a great thought. Thank you, Grace. All right. Does anyone have any other things they might like to see at the recovery walk this year that maybe weren't there last year? Anything that would be nice, or anything that can go into the planning process that maybe we hadn't thought of yet?
And if nothing comes to mind now, please feel free, to shoot that, out to us. Even if it sounds silly, maybe it's something we can't implement this go around, but building on to next go around, not silly, but sometimes it feels like it's too much, but we want to continuously add on. So please, if you have any ideas, suggestions, we are all ears.
All right. So we are going to pop into breakout rooms for a little while. We haven't done this in a long time. So an opportunity for a small group discussion around some ideas. And Jeanette, you worded this so much better in our meeting on Monday. If you would like to kind of describe what the parameters we're talking about. So I have the notes of what's working, what's not working, and what solution. But I didn't even have anything specific, whether it was tied to the ROSC, it could be, or it could just be in your own organization, in your own life. What are our parameters for this discussion, do you think?
Yeah, so we were just thinking, kind of taking a moment to revisit where we are as a ROSC in a smaller group. So, we are very fluid as we move through our strategic plan. Although we have one has room for these moments of reevaluating and kind of just acknowledging some things that are working, not working, and maybe have some suggestions for them. So this is just one of those moments where we're just kind of pausing, being very present in where we are, in the work we're doing with the ROSC, and just gathering that bit of info.
Perfect. And then we'll come back to the bigger group to share some highlights after about 10 minutes.
Awesome. Any questions? Everyone good with that?
I have the rooms ready to go, so I can open them now.
Yeah,
Sweet.
let's go.
An invitation to join? Okay.
A few months since our strategic plan, and we're just kind of doing a touch base of what do we feel like is going well within the community, within the ROSC? Where can we improve, and what solution is everyone excited to contribute to? So kind of
Really
just,
happy to hear the recovery jam went well.
it was awesome. I was so, I mean, I hate to say I was surprised, but you never know in the
Yeah, you never
summertime
know. And I know a
who's
couple
gonna show
people
up. And
I told about it, and then I know they didn't go, and I'm like, why not?
I know. And we had some people that I think heard about it second and third hand. So maybe the people you told someone else,
Yeah,
and those people came.
right.
And I think just from that event, I feel like there were some people, two individuals that just spoke to me specifically, that ended up saying, I'm going to apply for Recovery Corps. I'm going to get into this work. Like, this is what I'm meant to do with my life. And that's incredible.
Yeah, that's great.
So I feel like there's a lot of things like that that are working.
Yeah,
And I feel like what's not working still are some of the communication gaps, or, you know, getting the word out, having all agencies on board
right.
is my diplomatic way of saying that. Just
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to get everyone working together instead of everyone sort of doing their own thing is an ongoing challenge, I think.
I'm hoping this housing thing
That would
really adds to that, because there's a lot of people at the table and they really seem to want to be going in the same direction.
Yeah, and everyone that we talked to this whole time has said there needs to be transitional housing. There needs to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Grace or Kara, do you have any suggestions or ideas on maybe what is working within the council?
I've missed the last few meetings, so I really don't.
Sure. Maybe your input could be gathered then in the next couple of questions.
Yes.
As we move forward. Absolutely. I think just the RIA committee is a big success, right? And having that and all the wonderful work that you guys are doing and creating some of these types of events in addition to what's already been created previously. So I would consider that a large success.
Definitely, me too.
Yeah, I think that having the RIA, sorry, I'm congested. The RIA like host events so quickly after being formed is actually pretty awesome.
For sure. Absolutely. So transitioning into the next question, what is not working? So maybe thinking through what would you like to see change, or maybe something that hasn't been successful in the past. And if you have an idea of how to go about changing that, I would love to hear from you.
For myself, the Recovery and Action committee is, it's amazing, but honestly, Jeanette and I are like the ones that show up every time, and I'm grateful for that. But it can't just be us two, it gets overwhelming when that happens. And like I was saying earlier, being able to have other people come in, I don't know if people think that they have to be in recovery in order to show up, or like, I don't know. I just trying to be able to get the word out there and get people to come and help us, is something that I want to see possible. I suggested to her to even take a day and go sit on Woodlawn with some signs or something that say, recover out loud, recovery is possible, we need you. I mean, I would even be willing to do that, I don't, that was just, the best suggestion I had, so.
Sure, absolutely. Other community member support is needed to keep that sustainable, right? So
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from, Samantha. Have you began to brainstorm maybe some solutions to that? I know you said that you're trying to increase awareness, to
Mhm.
maybe advocating some more folks to show up at the table, but have you maybe thought through the times? Is that an issue for
Something to be able to work with them in the same ways that we work with the buses, right? I feel like that is when I look at what we have to work with, that's what we have. And I'm just wondering if there is any room there.
Yeah, I don't know. And we don't have a taxi. We don't have, anything like that, but we do have the show bus, but that's got to be scheduled ahead and that type of thing. So that's just something new that's been on our wish list lately, is to figure out how we can, because this guy's in Canton, but he said he would be willing to make a pickup in Havana to do that if we can help with the cost of diesel.
And I hear just that's a little RCO taking place, like offering this, this early, providing transportation and picking people up and making sure they get to work 2 weeks in a row. I mean, that's awesome type of support, and definitely figuring out how we can come alongside and support someone who's so willing to do something like that. Nadia, we might have to explore kind of what that is like. I don't know what that would look like, but someone coming out of their own pocket to do things. This is what people do. We have, well, she's not on this, but Deborah Kay, she's opened her house to people who, when they are down and out and they have nowhere to go. And so these are folks who are willing. How can we come alongside and support that? Right. That's the question. So, yeah, maybe that's something we need to look more into, obviously, but being really intentional about that.
Yeah, and Lynn, with those gas cards that Sheriff Dan does have, he technically could use it for that. So it's earmarked to help individuals get substance use treatment or kind of in their recovery. So that is a little bit of a stretch, but if you could fit it in at all, they have some type of diagnosis, because he does have a good amount of money. And I mean, we know there are not that many people in Mason County that are going to utilize safe passages. So he might just hang on to that money for a long time. So maybe in the future you could talk to him about it, or if you want to bring us into that, because the only thing he has to report back to us is just the amount that he gave out in the name, just to make sure he doesn't give like an absurd amount of money just to one person kind of thing. So that's the only tracking we require. We don't have to know where they're going, if it's a medical appointment, whatever it is, that's kind of on him, how he wants to divvy it up.
I'm glad I mentioned it then, because I think probably he would be willing. It was just his understanding that it was those two specific things. So I can see how we could make it work because if we're referring our people, we know that a large percentage of them have substance abuse or mental health issues, if not all. So we could probably work something out there.
Yeah, definitely. Even if it was just one gas card per individual that was going, as I said, it can't be all to like one person,
Right,
but if it's designated to the individual he's driving, that would kind of be a workaround.
Got it.
Yeah.
And if we need any, conversations about how that truly is a part of recovery, if we need to sell that at all, no problem. We'll be happy to come have that conversation. Yeah, for sure. As far as Denise, I'm going to call on you just a little bit because I know you're such a great resource with Gateway. And what is a way, we got 1 minute, that we can support you better, or, some way that we can stay in tune?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think just, keeping our services in mind when individuals are struggling. Obviously, my overarching goals surround getting information out on our services and getting people connected to them. So I think just keeping us in mind, or utilizing me if you have someone that's needing services is always helpful. But, I see a tremendous amount of value in this ROSC and others just in being able to connect with everyone. And so if there's opportunity even outside of the ROSC to come present to your team or your staff members, that would be amazing as well.
Welcome back, everyone. How were your breakout rooms? Excellent.
Denise, you got cut off, but we heard you.
That always happens, doesn't it? At the end, everyone's in the middle of something.
No worries.
All right. Well, who would like to share from their group something that is going well with the ROSC currently? Something that they like and that they want to see more of?
I can go ahead and go first. Our group just basically mentioned the success of the RIA committee and the wonderful work that they are doing, and assisting with hosting community events has been a huge success for our organization and the ROSC Council as a whole. So we would love to see continued support and involvement in that in the days ahead.
Definitely. Couldn't agree more.
One of the things I think was mentioned in our group, which is important to mention, is the flexibility of the meeting, having the ability to zoom in as well, and having that option. So that was greatly appreciated in our group as well.
Awesome. Yeah, and our group talked about the success of events and the success of really trying to get people together and talk about things in a way that is inclusive, and having that platform for people with lived experience to not just speak up, but to get involved, I think is a really powerful agent of change, and is absolutely the thing I think, me personally, I'm the most proud of in this time. So, all right. And then the harder part, what's not working? What do we need more of? Where can we still grow?
I know for us, transportation was identified as still a real struggle in our communities, and it's hitting in multiple areas, whether it be to be able to get to services, whether it be to get to employment, whether it be to get to appointments. So that was just one thing acknowledged of that is still in kind of an uphill battle right now. Also, in the same breath of, there are some folks with lived experience, people who want to step up to the plate, who are willing and eager to help out, but don't necessarily have the resources in which to do it. And some of our resources can be so earmarked in a way that, so filling that gap. We have people who want to. We have Tristan who still wants to pay for the gym on his own, and that's just to be able to provide something for someone. But I think that there's something really special about being intentional about supporting those folks. You know what I mean? They're willing. How can we close that gap?
Yeah, and that sort of segues into one of the things that our group talked about, which was still having there be communication barriers, or those silos that we talk about, where things are happening next to but not alongside one another, and really trying to merge and trying to make everyone aware of what's going on, make everyone at least able to share if they have a client or a person in need of a service and saying, oh, I know where you can go. Which sounds like such a small thing after all this time, but is still absolutely a challenge and is a moving target, it seems like, because there's, services and meetings that come and go. Just trying to keep all of that information updated, making sure that we're sending people to the right places for what they actually need, and partnering with some of the new resources coming online. As we all know, 988 went live this month, which is very, very exciting nationally. So hopefully people take advantage of, that service being available. People know to call it. I was talking to someone, just socially the other day who had never heard of it, despite it being all over the news. So like pushing that information out and making sure that we're all doing our part to kind of break down some of those communication barriers, I think is something that we can still improve.
And hopefully we can be used, and when I say we, the ROSC, as an information pathway for you all to get, information out for your agencies too. I want to stress that this is a mutual, reciprocal, kind of deal. And if there's ways in which we can support you, whether that be a new initiative that you have going on that we can help blast out, or we can help get out there, things changes or hours or things like that, we are hoping that you keep us in that loop with updated information so that we can be certain that we're giving out good information, and can commit to kind of helping that to stay up to date the most we can. But I agree that the silos can be difficult. There's and for multiple reasons, but I think we keep chipping away at it. Doggone it.
And I'll just add that, like, as many times as we can get people with lived experience at those informational talks, as many times as the ROSC gets invited, we can invite our RIA committee to also be a part. I think having that mentality can absolutely shift, what's possible and what's going to happen within the community. Jeanette says it all the time and says it much better than I do, but nothing for us without us.
About us without us. I think
Right.
that's from the faces and voices. So
Exactly.
for sure.
All right. And any solution that we are excited to be working on, kind of our last point here, and then we'll move on to community updates.
One of the things we spoke about was perhaps alternating events throughout the year from Logan County to Mason County, just because 2 weekends in a row or even split up in that month can be a bit much. That's something we threw down as a suggestion that we were going to kick around. Y'all know I can talk a lot.
Sorry,
go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Our group was just simply talking about increasing naloxone distribution throughout both counties, but not only just the distribution, but the promotional side of that too. So creating some promotional materials that could be distributed throughout the county to inform community members that that is available at certain places. So just overall increasing that awareness.
The other thing I was thinking that I didn't necessarily say in our group, but you coming back to the RIA group and the more training that we get to then also set up times and spaces and places where we can go, perhaps talk about harm reduction, right? Kind of falling under that, whether that be to schools, whether that's, to other agencies, to other companies, whatever that looks like. But I would really love to see that body of folks going to share about that specifically, that resource.
Interjecting really quick, identifying, is there a Access Narcan distributor located in Mason County? I know Sue provides OE&D services through her project, or the SOAR 1 project, Narcan, but is there another point of access? The health department in Logan County has it, which is great, and there's other options, but as a ROSC council, that's potentially something that could work to build out too. who can take leads that is local in the Mason County area. That could be more. I mean, Sue's close, don't get me wrong, in Canton, but that's still a haul. Like if you're in Mason City, that's almost still an hour-ish, you know? So I wasn't interjecting in all the groups as you guys have, but I observed that as we're talking now.
Yeah.
Am I muted? Are we still here?
Yes. Oh, Angie's
Alrighty. Bye,
jumping out.
Angela. Thanks
Bye,
for popping
Ange.
in.
Collaborative meeting 9/8 at 8:30. Our shameless plug. That's right, girl.
So as far as Mason County goes, would their hospital be interested in being a distribution for that? I mean, it seems natural since if they don't have a health department.
Well, they do have a health department too.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
We have a health,
I didn't realize that.
we have a health department and the hospital, and I think Sue's approached the sheriff's department as well. I just don't think that anyone has been very receptive. So that would be a goal. For
You know, which is interesting because when I called the sheriff here and I said, listen, can I put this in the courthouse? And he was like, sure, no problem. And now they call me to get it, to keep it in the jail. I mean, when I go over there, it's in the lobby, and they have it. It's not, you don't have to do anything other than it's there for people to take and just that they know it's there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's better than not having it at all, honestly.
Yeah.
Is there something that we can do, Nadia, then to help facilitate that conversation with the health department? Would that be something that we can step in and start having conversation about?
I think, yeah, we can identify if there is just a lack of awareness of it, or recruit Kara to come with us or call in and phone a friend, and just share. So yeah, I think there's opportunity to advocate for access there. I think that would be a nice step from the
I don't
ROSC.
know anybody in Mason County. I can ask Candace, one of my nurses. She lives there, but I don't know anybody at the health department there.
I mean, I do, but I also think from a health department to health department perspective, if there's barriers there.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll do that.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd love to speak with your colleague too. If she's a resident of Mason County, that could be another avenue, you know? So
I mean, even like rural or volunteer fire, they can just have it on hand if, I know they're not always open in some of that scenarios, but.
Yeah, but if they get a call, you never know. Because sometimes people they're right there when there's a crisis.
It all depends too, because like, I remember hearing from Chief Bob that, there's here for our fire trucks and things like that. Like they do not keep any extra, like they don't hand out the little pamphlet, like whatever they're supposed to have in their trunk, and some are not willing because of contract information. It can get really hairy. So they only have the Narcan that is on their person, and whatever informationals is very limited. I remember hearing that, like, dang, that's unfortunate. But I think it's trickier with what they're legally able to give out, or I didn't understand it all, but just something to be thinking of. I don't know.
I've heard something similar too, and I feel like that's part of the problem here. Like if you have it at the sheriff's department, this is another side note. If you have it at the sheriff's department, my people aren't going to go to the sheriff's department to get it. If you have it at the health department, they're only open during the daytime, and I think they're closed on Fridays. If it was at the hospital, there would be access 24/7, which I think would be best, but that's just one thought.
I mean, even connecting with the emergency department perhaps and saying, hey, can we just try this out? Here's a box. Let's see how it goes, something. But I don't know the legality. It sounds too easy to almost work without having to go through loops. So I'm not sure.
Would there be any other like late night or all night
Gas
possible?
stations,
Because there could possibly be a push of just getting it in like gas station bathrooms that was.
exactly. Because that's where a lot of overdoses happen, honestly.
I was thinking that too, and I don't know if hotels would be something that we
That's a
would.
really good idea.
I was just
But
thinking
Mason's.
Because
does
all
Mason
you'd have to
City
do would be
gas-
to go and talk to like a regional manager of a gas, like, like the one guy that manages the 12 Casey's in the area. Because that's usually how those are set up.
Kim, what were you going to say?
There's not a hotel in Mason City, is there?
Oh, you're on mute.
I don't think there's one in Mason City, but there are two here
Yeah,
in the metropolis of Havana.
right.
That's just something we can think of. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're coming up on time here. I want to be mindful of everything and give everyone a couple minutes at the end here to share. But next month we're going to be chatting. I should say you all are going to be chatting about some really great resources available for people with lived experience, people in the community that are seeking additional resources. So please make a point if there's someone that you've been meaning to invite or someone that you need to say like, hey, this is the one to come to. Next month will be a really great series of resources. And then if they're not able to make it, obviously we do the recordings all the time so they can watch the recording and get that information.
Definitely. Anyone who would be halfway, even might close to interested in earning one of the credentials next month would definitely be the time to invite them to hear more about it.
Does anyone have any updates to share within their own organization, within their own work, or just in general? Any recovery themed updates? We mentioned already the 988 number went live this month, so that's our big hooray.
I'll just say for the group that we are still pursuing a housing option and it's moving ahead. So we'll keep everybody up to date.
Yay.
Excited, Kim. The only thing that kept me away from that meeting was we thought my granddaughter was coming yesterday. But no, exciting things happening here. I want to take a moment just to thank Rachel as we are seeing her off and her taking on her family in a new way. We just thank you for helping to plant these roots that we're starting, right, and getting us a foundation to build from. I appreciate you sharing your skill and your heart, and we wish you all the best.
Oh, thank you, Jeanette. Thank you all. It's been a great privilege to get to know you all and to do this work. Small as the contribution it might be, it's, as I've said to some of you separately and over the years, just getting to try to help when and I'm getting a little emotional in a way that isn't deeply meaningful to me after the loss of my father. It's I think it's been wonderful. So thank you all. Okay, before I cry, we're gonna just future events. Our next meeting is the 18th of August, also by Zoom. And then some recovery in action coming up. Recovery Jam this weekend in Havana. And then the Walk for Recovery is happening the 17th and the 23rd, respectively, in Logan and Mason County. Make sure you're liking, following, sharing us on social media, and feel free to tag us if there's anything recovery oriented happening. We're looking at continuing to do the Facebook Lives and all of the fun updates from future events. I will certainly be following. I don't do social media, so that's saying a lot. I'll be checking in. And here we are, but we should take me out of there for next time. All right. Does anyone have anything else to share here at time?
We appreciate all of you. Stick with us. We know summer is hard, right? There's so much to do, both personally for a lot of folks and professionally, and trying to fit in those vacations. Please, everyone, be taking care of yourselves. It's easy for us to teach people how to take care of themselves. It's not always easy for us to follow that. So thank you for all you do. Again, we look forward to seeing you on Saturday for those who can join. And be well, everyone.